Hey there, welcome back to Story Slices, where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. The first one is the Tittle story, and it starts like this. Let me start by saying that I never expected to be in a legal battle with my homeowner association over a billboard, but here we are. This all started about 2 years ago when I purchased a commercial property on the outskirts of Houston, Texas. The lot was perfect, right off the highway, great visibility, and most importantly, affordable enough that I could finally start my own business. I'm a 45-year-old automotive mechanic, and after working for others for over 2 decades, I'd saved enough to open my own shop. The property was part of a mixed-use development with both commercial and residential areas, managed by what I would soon discover was an extremely aggressive homeowner association. When I bought the lot, I carefully reviewed all the homeowner association documents with my real estate attorney. The commercial section had reasonable restrictions, nothing too crazy. Basic stuff like maintaining the property, following local business ordinances, and getting approval for major modifications. I was fine with all of that. The first 6 months went great. I built my shop according to the approved plans, opened for business, and started building a decent customer base. The lot was larger than I needed, about 1.5 acres total, with my shop and parking taking up roughly half of it. I planned to expand eventually, so having extra space was perfect. Then came the letter that would start this whole mess. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I received an official-looking envelope from the Pine Creek Business District Homeowner Association. Inside was a notice informing me that the Homeowner Association Board had approved the installation of a revenue-generating billboard on my unused land. The letter stated installation would begin in 30 days. I immediately called the Homeowner Association office and spoke with Karen, the property manager. "What do you mean you're installing a billboard on my property?" I asked. "I never agreed to this." Karen's voice dripped with condescension. "Mr. Mitchell, according to Section 8.4 of the Commercial Bylaws, the Homeowner Association Board has the right to implement community improvement projects on any commercial lot within the development." "A billboard isn't a community improvement project," I argued. "It's a commercial advertising structure that benefits the homeowner association, not the community. The revenue will go toward maintaining common areas and keeping dues low," she replied. The board vote was unanimous. This is happening whether you like it or not. I hung up and immediately called my real estate attorney, David Cohen. He'd helped me with the property purchase and knew the homeowner association documents inside and out. "They can't do this," David said after I explained the situation. "Section 8.4 refers to things like sidewalks, lighting, and landscaping, not commercial structures for profit. Send me the letter they sent you." I emailed him a copy, and within an hour, he drafted a response clearly stating that I did not authorize any construction on my property and would pursue legal action if they proceeded. The homeowner association's lawyer responded the next day, citing various sections of the bylaws and claiming they had full authority to proceed. They also mentioned that several other business owners had enthusiastically supported the billboard project. "They're bluffing," David told me. "I've dealt with this homeowner association before. They're notorious for overreaching their authority. We should file for an injunction to prevent construction." I agreed, and we filed the paperwork that week. Unfortunately, the hearing date was set for 5 weeks out, after their planned construction date. The morning the construction crew showed up, I was ready. I'd parked my tow truck across the access point to the empty section of my lot and set up cameras to record everything. The crew arrived with their equipment around 7 a.m. The foreman, a burly guy in his 50s, approached me. "Sir, we need you to move your vehicle. We have authorization to install a billboard here." I stood my ground. "No, you don't. This is private property, and I haven't authorized any construction. I have a copy of the injunction request right here. If you proceed, you'll be liable for damages." He looked uncertain and called someone, presumably the homeowner association. Within 30 minutes, Karen herself showed up with 2 board members. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, hands on her hips, "you're interfering with authorized homeowner association business. Move your truck immediately, or we'll have it towed." I couldn't help but laugh. "I own a towing company, Karen. Good luck with that. And by the way, my cameras are recording everything. The second your crew sets foot on my property without permission, it's criminal trespassing." One of the board members, a short man in an expensive suit, stepped forward. "Listen here," he said, jabbing a finger in my direction. "We've invested significant resources in this project. The advertising contracts are already signed. If you continue this obstruction, we'll fine you for every day of delay." "Go ahead," I replied. "My lawyer will add it to the lawsuit." They huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. Finally, Karen stormed over to the construction crew and told them to pack up. As they left, she turned to me. "This isn't over. The board will be discussing your obvious breach of homeowner association cooperation requirements at our next meeting." I just waved as they drove away. But Karen was right about one thing. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That afternoon, I received notice of multiple homeowner association violations, totaling $2,500 in fines. The alleged violations included interfering with authorized homeowner association activities, improper use of commercial property, and my personal favorite, creating a hostile environment for homeowner association representatives. I forwarded everything to David, who was building quite a file for our case, but the homeowner association wasn't done yet. 2 days later, while I was working on a customer's transmission, I noticed several board members walking around my property with measuring tapes and clipboards. When I confronted them, they claimed they were conducting a routine inspection. "In that case," I said, pulling out my phone to record, "please show me your inspection authorization and provide 24-hour notice as required by the bylaws." They scattered like cockroaches when the lights come on. The next few weeks were a constant battle. The homeowner association sent daily violation notices, each more ridiculous than the last. They claimed my shop sign was 2 inches larger than permitted. It wasn't. That my parking lot striping was the wrong shade of yellow. It matched their own specifications exactly. And that my security cameras violated privacy guidelines. They didn't. Finally, our court date arrived. I'd barely slept the night before, worried about going up against the homeowner association's expensive lawyers. But David assured me we had a solid case. The hearing was set for 9 a.m. in the Harris County Courthouse. I arrived early, wearing my best suit, which I hadn't worn since my sister's wedding 3 years ago. Karen and the board members were already there, huddled with their attorney, a sharp-looking woman in a power suit who probably charged more per hour than I made in a day. When the judge called our case, David presented our argument first. He methodically walked through the homeowner association documents, highlighting how Section 8.4 specifically referred to community infrastructure improvements, not commercial installations. He showed photos of my property, the construction attempt, and played select video clips of the homeowner association's intimidation tactics. The homeowner association's attorney argued that the billboard qualified as a community improvement because it would generate revenue for the association. She also claimed I had violated multiple homeowner association regulations and was acting in bad faith. The judge, an older woman with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, listened carefully to both sides. After the arguments concluded, she spoke. "I've seen my fair share of homeowner association overreach," she said, "but this case is particularly egregious. The homeowner association has no authority to construct commercial advertising structures on private property without the owner's consent. The injunction is granted, and all fines against Mr. Mitchell are vacated." I could hardly contain my smile as Karen's face turned red with anger. But we weren't done. David immediately filed a countersuit for harassment and attempted theft of property use. That's when things got really interesting. During discovery for the countersuit, we uncovered some shocking information. The homeowner association had already signed a 5-year contract with a major advertising company for the billboard space, on property they didn't own or have rights to. The contract was worth $180,000 per year, none of which would have gone to me, the actual property owner. Even worse, we found emails between board members discussing how they could force me to comply. One email from Karen to the board president stated, "Once it's built, he'll have no choice but to accept it. We can drown him in fines until he gives up." When David showed me these emails, I was furious. "They were planning to steal my property rights from the beginning," I said. "Exactly," David replied, adjusting his glasses. "And now we have proof of their bad faith actions. This significantly strengthens our case." The homeowner association's lawyer reached out to discuss settlement shortly after these emails came to light. They offered to drop all fines and pay me $25,000 to resolve the situation amicably. I laughed when David told me. They tried to steal my property rights, harassed me for weeks, and now want to settle for pocket change? No way. David grinned. I told him you'd say that. Their lawyer wasn't happy. The case went to trial 6 months later. By then, the advertising company had sued the homeowner association for breach of contract, adding another layer of chaos to the situation. Several other business owners from the development approached me, sharing similar stories of homeowner association overreach, though none as blatant as my situation. The trial lasted 3 days. Karen and several board members had to testify under oath about their actions. It was satisfying watching them squirm as David presented their emails and documentation of their harassment campaign. The most revealing moment came during Karen's cross-examination. "David, Ms. Peterson, did you or did you not tell Mr. Mitchell that the billboard installation would proceed whether he liked it or not?" "Karen, I was merely expressing the board's authority to." "David, Please answer yes or no. Karen: yes. David: and were you aware that the homeowner association had no legal right to construct commercial structures on private property without owner consent? Karen: our lawyers advised us that Section 8.4. David: Your Honor, please instruct the witness to answer the question. Judge: Ms. Peterson, please answer yes or no. Karen: yes, I was aware. The jury took only 4 hours to reach a verdict. They found in my favor on all counts, awarding me $250,000 in damages plus attorney fees. The judge also issued a permanent injunction preventing the homeowner association from attempting any unauthorized construction on my property. But the story doesn't end there. The aftermath was just as interesting as the case itself. The advertising company's lawsuit against the homeowner association was settled out of court, but rumors suggested it cost the homeowner association well over $100,000. This led to a special assessment that had homeowners and business owners up in arms. Karen was fired from her position as property manager, and 3 board members resigned. The homeowner association's insurance rates skyrocketed due to the lawsuit, forcing them to raise dues significantly. At the next board election, several reform candidates won seats, including 2 of the business owners who had supported my case. They immediately began revising the homeowner association bylaws to prevent similar abuses of power. I used part of the settlement money to expand my shop, adding 3 new service bays and hiring 2 additional mechanics. Business was booming, partly because the case had given me unexpected publicity in the local community. The empty portion of my lot where they tried to build the billboard, I turned it into a small park with benches and trees, open to the community. Got all the proper permits and approvals, of course. The irony of creating an actual community improvement project wasn't lost on anyone. One day, about a month after the park was completed, I was working late when I noticed someone sitting on one of the benches. It was one of the former board members who had resigned after the lawsuit. He walked over to my shop, looking somewhat uncomfortable. "I owe you an apology," he said. "We got caught up in the potential revenue and lost sight of what was right. This park, this is what we should have been doing all along." I appreciated his honesty. "Water under the bridge," I told him. "Sometimes people need a wake-up call to realize they're on the wrong path." The whole experience taught me several valuable lessons. First, always read the fine print and have a good lawyer. Second, stand your ground when you know you're right, even if it would be easier to give in. And third, sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about making things better for everyone. These days, the homeowner association operates much more transparently and fairly. They even asked me to join the board last month, which I politely declined. I prefer spending my time under car hoods rather than under Robert's Rules of Order. My attorney David still jokes about the case whenever he stops by for an oil change. "Remember when they tried to say your parking stripes were the wrong shade of yellow?" He'll say, shaking his head. "That was the moment I knew we had them." The park has become a popular lunch spot for local workers and families. Sometimes, when I'm working late, I'll sit out there and reflect on how differently things could have gone if I hadn't stood up to the homeowner association's illegal actions. Last week, I overheard 2 elderly residents talking on one of the benches. One said, "Remember when they wanted to put a giant billboard here? Thank goodness that mechanic fought back." I couldn't help but smile. In the end, everything worked out better than I could have imagined. The homeowner association learned its limits, the community got a nice park, and my business is thriving. Sometimes you have to fight the good fight, not just for yourself, but for everyone who might face similar situations in the future. And as for Karen, I heard she took a property management job in another state. I almost feel sorry for whatever homeowner association hired her. Almost. Update. It's been a year since my last post about the homeowner association billboard saga, and a lot has happened that I think you'll find interesting. First off, my business has grown significantly. The publicity from the lawsuit actually helped attract more customers, and I had to hire 2 more mechanics to keep up with demand. We're now the largest independent auto shop in the area. Remember that park I built on the empty lot? Well, it turned into something bigger than I expected. Other business owners in the development started contributing. The local cafe put in a coffee cart during mornings, and the hardware store donated materials for a small playground. It's become a real community gathering spot. But here's where things get interesting. About 6 months ago, Karen, the former homeowner association manager, tried to sue me for defamation. She claimed my testimony during the original lawsuit had made it impossible for her to find work in property management in Texas. Her lawyer sent a demand letter asking for $75,000 in damages. I immediately contacted David, my attorney from the original case. He couldn't help laughing when I forwarded him the letter. "She's got to be kidding," he said. "Everything you testified about was documented with emails and video evidence. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation." We responded with a simple letter citing all the evidence from the original case and suggesting that any further legal action would result in a countersuit for malicious prosecution. Never heard from her lawyer again. The Reformed Homeowner Association Board has been doing much better. They actually invited me to give a presentation about my experience at their annual meeting. I talked about the importance of respecting property rights and working with community members rather than against them. During the Q&A, one of the homeowners asked, "What made you decide to fight back instead of giving in?" "Simple," I replied. "It wasn't just about the billboard. If they got away with this, what would stop them from doing worse things to other property owners?" The room went quiet for a moment, then erupted in applause. Several people came up afterward to share their own stories of dealing with the old board's tactics. Speaking of the old board members, there's been some karma there too. The board president who had signed the illegal advertising contract, he ended up getting sued personally by several homeowners who lost money in the special assessment that followed our case. He had to sell his house and move out of the development. Remember that advertising company that had sued the homeowner association? They approached me 3 months ago with a proper business proposal. They wanted to lease a small portion of my property, not for a billboard, but for an electric vehicle charging station with a modest advertising display. This time, everything was done legally and transparently. I negotiated a fair deal that benefits everyone. The charging station brings in additional customers for my shop, the community gets a needed service, and I receive a reasonable monthly lease payment. The homeowner association even approved the project unanimously, though they made sure to note that it was entirely my decision as the property owner. David still handles all my legal work, and his practice has grown too. He's become known as the go-to lawyer for property rights cases against overreaching homeowner associations. He tells me my case comes up in almost every consultation he has with new clients. "Your story shows people they can stand up to bullies and win," he told me last week. "Plus, it's a great example of how to fight back the right way, documenting everything and following proper legal channels." The park has become so popular that the city recognized it in their annual Community Improvement Awards. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. What the homeowner association tried to force as a community improvement project failed, but what we built voluntarily succeeded beyond expectations. One interesting development is that several other homeowner associations in the area have used our case as a template for reforming their own policies. The local paper even did a follow-up story about how one unauthorized billboard attempt led to widespread homeowner association reform in the region. Last month, I received an unexpected letter from one of the former board members who had resigned after our case. He's now working as a consultant helping homeowner associations improve their governance and community relations. He asked if he could use our case as a teaching example of what not to do. I agreed, on the condition that he emphasize the importance of respecting property rights and working with community members rather than against them. As for Karen's current situation, I heard through the grapevine that she's working as a junior property manager at a small apartment complex in Oklahoma. Apparently, her new employer has her on a very short leash when it comes to resident relations. The best part of this whole experience has been seeing how standing up to bullies can inspire others to do the same. 3 other business owners in our development successfully challenged unfair homeowner association actions in the past year, citing my case as precedent. The homeowner association now thinks twice before trying to overstep its authority. My shop continues to thrive, the park is flourishing, and the community is stronger than ever. Sometimes I look out at the families enjoying the park where that billboard was supposed to be, and I know I made the right choice in fighting back. The lesson in all this? Standing up for what's right might be difficult and costly in the short term, but the long-term benefits, not just for yourself, but for your entire community, make it worthwhile. And sometimes, the best way to deal with people who abuse their authority is to expose them to the light of day and let justice take its course. That's my update. Thanks for reading, and remember, always keep those security cameras rolling and your lawyer's number handy. You never know when you'll need them. The next one is entitled People's Story. Over the weekend, a few houses on our street, including ours, were targeted for vandalism. The culprits were caught on multiple security cameras, and turned out to be a group of 4 12- and 13-year-old boys. They were arrested, but released to their parents that same evening. The families are eager to sweep this under the rug and offered to pay for all of the damages with little argument. For the other neighbors, that's great. But for us, I handmade almost every single decoration, including the furniture they destroyed, and I have no idea how to calculate our monetary damages. I can calculate exactly how much it would cost me to recreate each item. I can calculate exactly how much it would cost me to purchase all of the supplies necessary to recreate each item, and I can calculate how much it would cost to buy a similar item already made. I'm not sure which way to go, or if I should calculate my time spent making these things, or if I should charge for all supplies purchased, or just the amount used. My husband grossly overestimates my skills. He thinks I'm like the Picasso of Halloween decorations. God bless him smile, and thinks I should charge the cost of supplies purchased, rather than supplies used, and $15/hour for the time it would cost me to recreate everything, which would take weeks. I've been working on our current display for going on 4 years now. Neighbors think I should charge how much it would cost to buy the item already made, which is notably more expensive, even factoring in $15/hour, so I can be restored right now instead of having to make everything again. I'm leaning towards charging only for supplies purchased, because I obviously can't buy just exactly the amount of fabric/paint/etc. I'm going to use. So legal advice: how much do I request for reimbursement? Update. My husband, too, non-crafty and unbiased, friends and I spent a few days going through pictures of the decorations pre-vandalism, pressing all of the materials, and comparing materials plus labor/expenses to store-bought/pre-made versions found on Etsy and major retailers. My version was almost always cheaper, including labor/expenses, so we went with that for everything. After depreciation for things I didn't make this year, we still got a pretty high number, but we rounded it up and figured it would be a good starting point for negotiation. My husband met with the other parents and residents a few days ago without me. I'm a horrible negotiator and confrontational. I'm not so great at keeping my cool. And surprisingly, they agreed to the rounded up amount with no argument. Yesterday afternoon all 4 boys came with their parents, accompanied by the police officer who handled the vandalism, and the boys apologized, gave us each 4 handwritten apology letters, and then each boy gave us a small Halloween decoration they bought themselves to get us started on rebuilding our displays. It was a really sweet gesture, and they seemed genuinely apologetic and like they really understood the seriousness of what they had done. The parents handed us an envelope with the full amount we calculated plus an extra $100, and when we questioned the extra, they said it was for inconvenience. One of the parents also gave us a jar of homemade pumpkin butter and her own apology note. The officer asked us to sign paperwork saying we were fully reimbursed for the damages the boys caused that night, which we did. He's supposed to mail us a copy of the paperwork later this week. After today, the boys aren't allowed in the neighborhood at all for at least a year, but we don't think they will pull anything like this again after all of this anyway. It's been raining off and on all week, so we've had plenty of time to work on new decorations for our display. We finally started putting things out again yesterday. We still have a lot to go and probably won't finish everything before next weekend. Our destroyed display was a 5 years worth of work, but between store-bought replacements, some donations from friends and family, and the things we have done so far, it's looking pretty good. Are you hungry for more slices of stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow at Story Slices.